Hello aviation enthusiasts, Citrus Aviation here with a different type of video. Today we are going to be doing a video on a specific aviation topic. If this video does well, I'll probably end up doing more of these in the future, which I already have some other ideas such as the MD-80 retirement and a few others. But today we are going to be talking about the failure of the MCAS system. So what does MCAS stand for? Well, MCAS stands for Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, and it was developed for the Boeing 737 MAX. So, to be able to understand the system and why it failed, we need to go back a ways. So, the 737 NG, stood for Next Generation, came out in the late 90s and was basically an updated version of the 737 with all new avionics and upgraded engines, cabin, all that kind of stuff. It was a nice upgrade to the 737 Classics. There was the Dash 600, 700, 800, and 900. And these aircraft were produced until 2019, when the very last 737 NG was built. So, the 737 NGs were in production for a long time. However, eventually, there was going to obviously be a successor to the 737 NG. An aircraft that popular, I mean, why not make a successor? So, Boeing started development of a new 737 line. However, there were some issues that airlines were having with this new aircraft. They wanted it to be not a different aircraft type. So while they want a new aircraft, they want it to be the same for certification reasons. So for a certification here in the United States, a pilot can be certified on up to 3 variants of a single aircraft before he needs to get another certification for the aircraft. So let's say, for example, Southwest Airlines back in 2014 operated 4 different aircraft types: the 737-300, 737-500, 737-700, and their recently acquired 737-800s. And they were encountering an issue where pilots could only fly 3 of those variants, or else they had to have a second certification too. So let's say they flew the Dash 300, 500, and 700. If they also wanted to fly the Dash 800, they needed to have a second 737 pilot certificate to be able to fly that variant, because there was a 4th variant. You can only fly 3 variants. And so a lot of airlines wanted the 737 MAXes to count as 737 that they already had. So for example, for Southwest, they will gain the 737 MAX 7 and MAX 8, so they wanted it to fit with their Dash 700s and 800s. So for example, instead of having to have a separate certification for the 737 Dash 800 and MAX 8, it would just be one certification, the 737 Dash 800 / MAX 8. So in order to do this, Boeing developed a lot of changes to the aircraft in order to make it feel and function basically the same as a 737 NG aeronautically. Now that's very difficult to do because the 737 has significant changes, mostly its huge engines, which are located forward and slightly higher than the previous engines. The aircraft also has a bit more ground clearance to allow for those nice round engines, because as you know, on a lot of the older 737s, the engines are flat on the bottom, and that's because of the limitation of ground clearance. They couldn't make round engines because of how low the 737 is. So that's a fun fact for those of you who didn't know. The reason why 737s have flat engines, or at least some of them do. So with the 737 NG and the 737 MAX difference, this is where the MCAS system came in, and it was designed to help with stall recovery. So it's basically a system that will help recovering in a stall. And in a typical stall, what will happen is the aircraft obviously loses lift on the wings, because it's basically a pressure thing. So the underside is an area of, okay, I might be slightly wrong on this, but one side of the wing has an area of high pressure and the other side of the wing has an area of low pressure, and those different pressures cause the aircraft to rise, okay? So what happens when in a stall is that aircraft loses that pressure and the aircraft just falls out of the sky. So, in order to recover from a stall, the standard procedure is to cut back on the throttle, because speeding up or basically putting in more throttle can basically end up causing the aircraft nose to not be able to go down. And in a stall recovery, you want to put the nose down, to gradually gain up speed, and then you gain thrust. Because if you have the engines throttling up, you can end up having an issue where you can't bring the nose down and you can't recover from the stall, and you'll basically just fly nose up into the ground, which is not good. So the MCAS system was designed to force the nose of the aircraft down, because the 737 MAX has significantly more powerful engines, and so the MCAS system basically makes up for this by causing the aircraft's nose to go down. So the downside about this, because the MAX is not certified as a different aircraft type, a lot of pilots and crews were not informed of these changes. And so in the case of both JT610, which was the Jet Airways MAX 8 that crashed, and ET302, which was the Ethiopian 737 MAX 8 that crashed, neither of these crews had been properly trained on that new system. And the 737 MAX really should have been identified as a separate aircraft. Boeing is trying to solve an aircraft problem that customers wanted, but turned out to not be the best for safety. And so this is where the MCAS system failed, and sadly it is why the 737 MAX is grounded, and who knows when. I mean, my guess of July being the return date for the 737 MAX is nowhere near the completion. If I had to guess now when the 737 MAX will get back up in the skies, I would say end of 2019. Sometime in December, maybe January 2020. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video on the failure of the MCAS system. Thanks for watching, and God bless you.
A few moments later.
Ba 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 da 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 ba 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 bum bum bum.